Let's kickstart this news edition with visuals from the United Arab Emirates as Pope Francis is set to address a mass at the Sheikh Zayed Sports Complex. This is the first papal visit to the Arabian Peninsula. What you are getting are the latest shots from the mass in the UAE. These are live shots coming in from Abu Dhabi as thousands throng this historic mass. It's a celebration of High Mass at the Zayed Sports Stadium. It's the first time that a Pope has ventured over to West Asia or the Middle East. As you can see, thousands have gathered for this historic papal mass. They are taking place in Abu Dhabi as the High Mass is all set to begin. And this was just some time ago that on his arrival of Pope Francis at the Presidential Palace in Abu Dhabi, he was accorded a 21-gun salute followed by the playing of the anthems of the Vatican and the UAE. So it's indeed been a grand welcome for Pope Francis, and as you can see, he's also accompanied by a delegation of people and high security. Amidst high security, there will be a mass taking place for which thousands have gathered. He's been accompanied by cavalry mounted on this gypsy. It was just a day ago that Pope Francis had arrived in the UAE, and he had been greeted by several dignitaries, including sheikhs and ministers. Sheikh Mohammed, the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, had welcomed Pope Francis along with the official delegation that had accompanied the Pope. This is the latest that we are streaming to you from Abu Dhabi as celebration of High Mass is taking place at the Zayed Sports Stadium in Abu Dhabi. Earlier, the Pope had urged religious leaders to work together to reject war, including in Yemen. And the Pope's visit comes at a time when the UAE is engaged in a long-running military campaign in Yemen. In his keynote speech addressing an inter-religious gathering of Christians and Muslims, Pope Francis had said that conflicts bring nothing but misery and death. The Pope is on a 3-day visit to the UAE, and more than 130,000 Roman Catholics are attending the Mass from UAE and all around the world. This is the first papal visit to the Arabian Peninsula, which is what makes it an extremely historic visit for not just the Christian community, but of course the entire UAE. More than 130,000 Roman Catholics are attending the Mass from UAE and all around the world. And yesterday, the Pope had attended a private meeting with Islamic leaders at Abu Dhabi's Sheikh Zayed run mosque. And it's interesting to note that UAE's home to more than 1 million population of Christians and Catholics. And it is just in a short while from now that the Mass is all set to take place. It is a high Mass, and as you can see, thousands have gathered in the sports stadium in Abu Dhabi. It's the Zayed Sports Stadium. So as you can see, this is Pope Francis during his historic visit to UAE, as he is the first Pope to set foot in the Arabian Peninsula. This, as we all know, is also the birthplace of Islam, and it will be later that the Pope will be leading Muslim clerics during his 48-hour. He's also going to be meeting them during his 48-hour visit, and he's all set to hold an open-air mass in just a short while from now, which is expected to be attended by nearly 130,000 Catholics. That is quite a number at the moment. Now, as you can see, the Pope is retiring into the stadium. The visit is also politically significant, as it was just last week that the Pope had urged all parties, all warring parties in Yemen, to strive towards peace. Remember, the UAE and Saudi Arabia have been deeply involved in the nearly 4-year-long war in Yemen. Also, Pope Francis is looking to turn a new leaf as far as relationships between Christians and Muslims world over are concerned. He is also on a visit to the region, which is predominantly, populated by Muslims. What's most important is that Pope Francis is the first pontiff to be doing so. It will be in some time from now that Pope Francis will be addressing the Mass. And it's important to talk about how he is the first pontiff to be in West Asia. He will also be participating in a conference on interreligious dialogue at Abu Dhabi. The dialogue is sponsored by the UAE-based Muslim Council of Elders. It's also meant to counter religious fanaticism in the region. And we will continue to bring you the latest on this mass. As it's all set to happen, we will bring you more live visuals once the mass actually begins.